It began like so many discoveries in astronomy do. Not with a flash of light or a dramatic announcement, but with a faint movement hidden deep within the darkness of space. At first, scientists believed the object was a comet. Then perhaps an asteroid drifting in from interstellar space. But the more astronomers studied it, the stranger it became. The object, later named 3I Atlas, defied every known category. Its shape appeared too symmetrical to be natural, its movement too controlled to be random. Unlike ordinary interstellar objects that rush unpredictably through the solar system, 3I Atlas moved with eerie precision, gliding through space almost as if it had mapped the planets long before arriving. The discovery immediately reminded scientists of Oumuamua Discovery, the mysterious interstellar visitor that passed through our solar system in 2017. But 3I Atlas was different in every possible way. It was larger, slower, and far more deliberate. When researchers traced its path backward, they realized something deeply unsettling. The object had navigated around debris fields, radiation zones, and gravitational hazards with impossible efficiency. A natural object should not have been capable of such precise movement. It was like watching a chess piece glide across a board where every square had already been calculated in advance. As soon as the object was confirmed, astronomers directed the James Webb Space Telescope toward it. What the telescope detected stunned even the most skeptical researchers. Unlike comets or asteroids, which release chaotic bursts of heat as ice and rock react to sunlight, 3I Atlas emitted heat in repeating pulses. The pattern was rhythmic, measured, almost mathematical. Webb's spectroscopic instruments also revealed materials never before observed in any known interstellar object. Hyper-reflective compounds coated parts of the surface, while dense internal structures hinted at hollow chambers buried deep inside the object itself. Then came the signal. Hidden within the telescope data was a faint repeating electromagnetic pulse echoing every 147 seconds. At first, scientists assumed it was background interference. But after comparing the readings with archived observations of Oumuamua, they uncovered something terrifying. The exact same frequency had briefly appeared during Oumuamua's departure from our solar system years earlier. Only now, with 3I Atlas, the signal was stronger and impossible to ignore. The discovery reignited an old debate. When Oumuamua first passed Earth, some scientists suggested it might have been artificial, perhaps even alien technology. Others dismissed the idea as speculation. But 3I Atlas forced the scientific community to reconsider. Some researchers proposed that Oumuamua had merely been a passive reconnaissance probe, silently observing humanity before vanishing into deep space. 3I Atlas, however, appeared different. It was not passive. It was responsive. It seemed aware of our attention, almost as though it were observing humanity in return. The situation became even more alarming when 3I Atlas suddenly changed course. Observatories in Chile and Hawaii recorded a slight but unmistakable shift in the object's trajectory. The movement could not be explained by gravity, solar winds, or any known natural force. Instead of continuing along its projected path, the object adjusted itself closer toward Earth's orbital plane. To mission analysts, the implication was chilling. 3I Atlas had made a decision. Behind closed doors, emergency meetings began at space agencies around the world. Independent researchers and cryptographers started analyzing the repeating signals emitted from the object using advanced neural networks and pattern recognition systems. What they uncovered was stranger than anyone imagined. The pulses contained recurring mathematical structures linked to the golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, and prime number spirals. These same patterns appear throughout nature, from galaxies and DNA to ancient architecture on Earth itself. But the signal was not static. It changed subtly depending on solar activity and planetary alignment. Most disturbing of all, scientists discovered that the pulse pattern shifted at the exact moment the James Webb Telescope locked onto 3I Atlas in infrared wavelengths. The object had reacted to being observed. As researchers continued studying the object, Webb detected faint traces of highly organized carbon compounds across its outer shell. These were not random organic materials like those found on ordinary comets. They were structured with unusual precision, resembling the chemical foundations required for life itself. Some scientists proposed a terrifying possibility. 3I Atlas might not simply be exploring the galaxy. It might be carrying the building blocks of life from one star system to another. That theory grew even darker when Webb observed subtle changes across the object's reflective surface. Patterns shifted and rearranged themselves over time, almost like a machine adapting to its environment. Then a second signal emerged, lower in frequency and directed not toward Earth, but outward into deep space. 3I Atlas was transmitting something into the cosmos. Some researchers feared it was reporting back. Others believed it was calling for something still far beyond the stars. And suddenly, the question was no longer whether humanity had discovered an interstellar object. The question became whether humanity had triggered something waiting in the darkness to answer back. Just when scientists believed 3I Atlas could not become any more terrifying, the situation escalated beyond deep space and began affecting Earth itself. A classified atmospheric monitoring balloon drifting above Antarctica detected a sudden microwave burst directly over the southern polar region. Moments later, seismic stations across the frozen continent recorded low-frequency vibrations unlike anything caused by earthquakes or shifting ice. The frequencies matched the exact pulse pattern being emitted by 3I Atlas. For the first time, the anomaly was no longer confined to space. Something connected to the object appeared to be interacting with Earth. At the same time, a young data analyst studying ancient star charts made a discovery that disturbed even veteran astronomers. When he mapped the trajectory of 3I Atlas across historical celestial records, he found that the object's path aligned perfectly with constellations considered sacred in multiple ancient civilizations, including Orion, Draco, and the Pleiades. Even more unsettling, those alignments formed a spiral pattern nearly identical to symbols discovered in prehistoric cave art across Africa and South America. Some researchers dismissed the connection as coincidence. Others quietly wondered if 3I Atlas was not merely traveling through space, but broadcasting something. A pattern. A memory. A language older than humanity itself. Soon afterward, another theory began circulating among classified research groups. It became known as the lock and key hypothesis. According to this idea, Oumuamua had been the lock, a silent observer sent only to assess humanity's technological development. 3I Atlas, however, was the key. Its purpose was not just observation, but activation. Supporting this theory was a sudden oscillation detected in Earth's magnetosphere, perfectly synchronized with the object's pulses. During the event, both Voyager probes briefly transmitted unexplained bursts of data before returning to normal operations. Some analysts described the moment as a handshake. Then came an even more shocking possibility. A growing number of physicists proposed that 3I Atlas might not actually be a spacecraft at all. Instead, it could be a mobile gravitational gateway, capable of bending space-time around itself. Webb telescope observations revealed tiny lensing distortions and temporal anomalies surrounding the object, effects that suggested light itself was arriving faster than expected. If the data was correct, then time around 3I Atlas was behaving differently. The object was not simply traveling through space. It was manipulating it. As tensions rose, observatories around the world reported strange failures connected to the anomaly. Several telescopes experienced sensor overloads after exposure to the object's emissions. One experimental detector in Australia suffered catastrophic damage when a sudden pulse melted its primary imaging chip. Scientists realized that 3I Atlas possessed the ability to interfere with human instruments deliberately. Its signals were not random broadcasts. They were controlled and strategic. Then Earth itself appeared to react. Magnetic monitoring stations recorded synchronized pulses rippling through fault lines, volcanic regions, and deep crystal formations beneath the planet's crust. Migratory birds, whales, and even subterranean insects abruptly altered their navigation patterns at the exact same time. It was as though some ancient signal buried within Earth had suddenly awakened. But the most disturbing event was yet to come. A privately funded satellite array intercepted a transmission originating directly from 3I Atlas and aimed toward the Moon. The signal was unlike any language humanity had ever encountered. It was encoded across multiple dimensions of information including frequency, harmonic tone, polarization, and time itself. When analysts traced its destination, they discovered the transmission had struck a specific lunar region known for unusual gravitational concentrations called mascons. Suddenly, rumors spread through the scientific community that 3I Atlas was attempting to activate something hidden beneath the lunar surface. In response, a covert military probe was launched toward the object using a classified orbital platform. The mission was simple. Approach 3I Atlas and scan it at close range. The probe never reached its target. Just before contact, it encountered what operators described as an invisible wall, a massive lattice of charged particles forming a protective barrier around the object. Seconds before losing signal entirely, the probe transmitted one final image. A fractal reflection of itself staring back from the darkness. 3I Atlas had not only detected the probe. It had scanned it in return. By then, the horrifying truth was becoming impossible to ignore. This was not a drifting rock. Not a comet. Not even a conventional spacecraft. 3I Atlas behaved more like an intelligent system, something adaptive, reactive, and possibly alive in ways humanity could barely comprehend. And the most terrifying possibility of all still remained unanswered. What if 3I Atlas was never the main event? What if every signal, every course correction, every silent observation was not meant for humanity at all, but for something else following behind it through the darkness between the stars? Because if that is true, then humanity has not simply discovered an interstellar visitor. We have activated a beacon. And somewhere in the vast silence of the cosmos, something may already be on its way.